1. Okay, there we go. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I heard a whole bunch of states in the U.S., and I heard a whole bunch of countries, even as far away, I think, as Australia, which is probably 13, 14 hours ahead of U.S. East Coast time with an 8 p.m. start time. So we are very humbled that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to visit your future. I want you to understand what to expect. We're going to take about an hour to give you some powerful content, and then we'll have an optional Q&A. Now, our optional Q&A will be a little bit abbreviated. We do 2 webinars a week, Tuesday nights, where we kind of share, the potential solution to a global economic challenge. And then on Thursdays, we go into training. I normally have more time on Thursdays for optional Q&A. My Tuesday nights, because I have other commitments, I will have probably about 15 minutes or so of optional Q&A on this evening, okay? All right, so with that being said, let's go to work. Here's our webinar objective, is to reveal a potential. I put the word potential there because the solution we're going to be talking about is in what's called a soft launch. If you know, if you're new to marketing or you know little about marketing, a soft launch is that time where things are getting ready. They're getting ready to get ready in the background. And the reality is, and the reason we call this webinar series, is it crap or is it gold, is we won't fully know if it's crap. We won't fully know if it's gold until we're out of soft launch and we're into a launch environment, which should be in a couple of months based on what we're seeing and hearing. And, people are getting paid and what have you. So what happens in business, period, is you can have a great concept, and sometimes when you go live, that concept doesn't quite work out. And then there are other times when you have a great concept and you go live and the concept does work out. Well, the reason we're having these series of webinars now and sharing this now, because if it is gold, it becomes a huge solution to a global economic problem that plagues the masses. One of my multimillionaire mentors taught me this, Paul, years ago. He said, if you can find a problem, Vivian, that plagues the masses, and you can bring a solution, you can bring some healing, bring some ointment, bring some salve to that problem. In other words, Penny, you can find a solution to the problem that the masses face. This is what he said. He is a multimillionaire. He said, Pamela, you can get rich. Okay, you can get rich. So our objective is to reveal a potential solution to a global economic problem that plagues the masses. Further, it is to reveal how just 10 hours a week could be the catalyst for you to ultimately build, Sherry, a 6 or even a 7-figure, and for some folks, it could even be 8 figures. All right, but we'll stay with 6 or 7 figures. Rita, how you 10 hours. I want you to commit to 10 hours a week. When this system comes out of soft launch and is in the public sphere, I want you to commit to 10 hours a week, and we're going to show you how that can be a catalyst to you generating a 6, which would be $100,000 a year income or more, or 7, which would obviously be $1 million a year or more business, okay? And we're going to show you how it can be a catalyst even if you have failed previously. Let's say that you've been trying to crack this, how do I make money from home? How do I make money online code? And you've failed previously, and maybe failed multiple times. Or maybe you're new to looking to make money from home, looking to make money online or on the internet or with mobile, okay? So it really doesn't matter. If she is gold, we're going to take 10 hours a week. That's going to be the catalyst to potentially generating a 6 or 7-figure business. Okay, let's talk about some problems that are facing people across the globe. Now, I want to say this very quickly. We're going to talk about problems, but we're going to then reveal potential solutions. And I don't want us to get so locked in to, let's say, if you're watching the news, you have the feeling that the sky is falling. And the reality is that we've got more and more people facing things like poverty, and the distance between the haves and the have-nots seems to be growing. But I want you to understand there is nothing but abundance. Meaning, while you have a large segment of the population struggling and seemingly things are getting worse from an economic standpoint, you've got another segment of the population that they're getting richer and richer. There are more billionaires than there have ever been. All right, there are more millionaires than there have ever been. So as we look at the problems that plague really the global economic climate, if we can find solutions to these problems, ladies and gentlemen, as my multimillionaire mentor said, George, we could get rich. Here we go. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about some things that's happening in the United States, even though I know we've got a global audience, because the United States is the largest economy right now and is largely regarded as the wealthiest nation. Some people might argue that, but it's regarded as the wealthiest nation. Now, if we are seeing major economic challenges in the U.S., that probably lets us know that there are other major economic challenges across the globe. Okay, so here we go. Here was an article where it talked about who's on welfare. Now, if you're in the U.S., you know what welfare is. If you're not in the U.S., let's just give you a quick lesson. Welfare is essentially where the government is helping to subsidize, helping to support people, whether it is providing food assistance. When I was growing up, we called it food stamps. When I was growing up, it wasn't something, you didn't want to be on food stamps. And what would happen is you go into the grocery store line and you'd see somebody with this little book, and you knew if somebody was on food stamps. And if you went to school with a kid whose mom or dad was on food stamps, that child got, picked on. Or when I went to a public school, there would be some of the children would be on what they called free lunch or free breakfast. These were folks that their parents weren't making enough money and the government stepped in. And it used to be that group of folks was kind of looked down upon, almost like a second-class citizenship, as it were. Well, now this article says, well, who's on welfare? 9 shocking stats about public assistance. Because what it talks about is that now they have found that workers in many occupations were dependent on public assistance. So it's not just the folks that maybe folks say, well, why don't you just go get a job? The guy who's on the corner that's got a "will work for food" sign, a lot of people were just passing by and say, hey, fella, go get a job. Well, guess what? He's got a job now. And in many cases, he still needs assistance. She still needs assistance. They still need assistance. Now, there's a lot of places across the world where the government does not subsidize anything. So if someone is struggling financially, they're simply struggling financially, and they are maybe having a difficult time making ends meet, getting food and what have you. This is happening in the wealthiest, supposedly, country in the world. Now we've got families. They call it the working poor. We've got families that he has a job, maybe even she has a job, yet they don't have a place to live. They're living out of a car, or they're living in homeless shelters or what have you. All right, so that's one segment of the population and one major problem. What about our young folks, right? This is our future, right? So now you've got all of these, we're taught, those of us that are from the U.S., we're taught, to go to school, get a good education, go to college, and you come out of college and the world is yours. Well, in this article, they talked about the fact that 22% of college graduates are either unemployed or they're underemployed, which means they're not in the field, or they're not making the kind of money that their degree suggests that they should be making, Lady Di. Now, it goes on. There was another report that talked about the shocking student loan debt statistics for 2016. So this isn't something that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. This is this year. All right. Look at this. Give me a moment. There we go. Okay. In 2016, they talked about how students are burdened with student loan debt. And the statistics say that $1.3 trillion is out there in student loan debt. And so the average graduate, get this, the average graduate across all the universities in the U.S. has $37,000 in student loan debt, and that's up a whopping 6% from the previous year. So we've got a challenge. We've got our college students, our future, coming out of college with degrees. 22% are either unemployed or underemployed, and the average college student is saddled with $37,000 worth of debt. You've got a student loan delinquency rate of 11.6%. So what that now means is you've got 22% of college graduates unemployed, underemployed. You've got the average college graduate with $37,000 in debt. You've got 11.6% of those that have student loans that are delinquent, which now impacts their credit, which now means they'll have a difficult time getting a house or getting a car and paying the best rates. So now their monthly expenses for that car will be higher because they've got bad credit. The monthly expenses for a house, if they can buy a house, will be more because they've got bad credit. And the average monthly student loan payment is $351 a month. Now, I want to go back to what my multimillionaire mentor taught me. He said this: if you can find a problem that plagues the masses, and then you can find a solution to that problem that plagues the masses, you can be rich. You can get rich. And again, this comes from a multi-millionaire. Now let's look at another segment of our population, our beloved baby boomers. 1946, 1964, between that time frame in the U.S., 76 million folks were born. And this segment of society has had just a major impact on the economic boom in the U.S. Now they're starting to retire. Now I believe it's some 10,000 U.S. citizens a day turn 65. And now the question is, can they afford to retire? And this article said that many boomers can't. It goes on to say that at age 65, more people are having to continue to work at higher percentages. It's at a 25-year high. So people, they work 30 years. They maybe work 40 years for a company. They retired, but they don't have enough financial resources. So now they have to go out to Walmart. Hello, welcome to Walmart. Or they have to go to McDonald's. Hello, welcome to McDonald's. You know, does it break your heart sometimes to see someone who you know is probably 70, 72, 75? I remember Mr. Robert worked at Office Depot. It was a Friday. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And he had a hearing aid, and great guy. And I would see him all the time as I would go into the Office Depot. And I asked him one day, Mr. Robert, if you don't mind me asking, how young are you, sir? Mr. Robert, if I remember correctly, was 82 years young. Now, maybe he worked because he wanted to get out of the house and he wanted to stay youthful and what have you. But at 5:30, 6 o'clock on a Friday, I'm thinking, Mr. Robert, you should be at home waiting for the grandkids to come over, not here working at Office Depot. So we've got some challenges there. And as a matter of fact, the average person, nearly half of Americans 50 years and older, have less than $25,000 set aside for retirement. Okay, so hey, I don't have a lot of money set aside for retirement, but I'm going to be okay because I work for the government and I've got a pension and I was a municipal employee and all that good stuff. Well, now we've got a problem because one of the largest cities in the country, in the U.S., now I'm talking U.S. problems, but these problems have a ripple effect throughout the global economic community, okay? Well, here's Detroit, one of the largest cities in the country. They went bankrupt. And when they went bankrupt, ladies and gentlemen, guess what they did? They had to cut people's pensions. So here you had folks that had worked for the city, whether they were policemen or firemen or teachers or what have you, that worked for the city. They had been promised, hey, when you retire, we've got your back. You're going to have your pension. And at one point in the negotiations, they were talking about cutting pensions by up to 20%. It turned out that they cut pensions by 4.5%. So there was a base cut, of almost a 5% cut, plus they lost any cost of living adjustment. So what would typically happen with a pension, for instance, is you retire, and because the cost of goods and services typically rise year over year, you would get a cost of living adjustment. So maybe you retired on $2,000 a month, and then maybe the next year that increased by a couple percentage points to help keep up with the cost of inflation. The fact that it costs more to buy a loaf of bread today than it did last year. The fact that it costs more to buy medication today than it did last year. All right. So look at this. Look at this. So they cut pensions by almost 5%. They cut any cost of living adjustment. And then look at this. The city clawed back, meaning they went and took $240 million that had been paid out to retirees. So retirees, here they are. You're retired. You've given your service in law enforcement, or in the fire department, or in teaching, or in administration. You've given your service. You've been a public servant. You have gotten annuity payments because you've been retired. Now the city comes back and says, give me back my money. $240 million. Is there a global economic problem? Does anybody see a problem here? If you see a problem, put yes in the questions box. I see a global economic problem. I see a global economic problem. Okay. Continues on this article. By the way, so if some of you want to know why we've been so passionate about this potential solution we're going to share, you want to know why we're so passionate, is because we got real problems. We got real problems because somebody in Detroit is somebody's mama, somebody's daddy, somebody's aunt, uncle, somebody's grandmama who's now struggling when they thought when they retired they would be in good shape. Given the rising costs, same article, cost of living and especially healthcare costs faced by retirees, many of whom pay thousands of dollars per month, and healthcare costs for doctor's visits and essential medications and treatments. They were talking about a little fund that they had put together to kind of help these folks out. And they were saying that's just not enough. And the brutal fact is that Detroit retirees are facing the loss of their homes. This isn't a 30-year-old losing his or her house. This is a 70-year-old losing his or her house. They're losing access to medical care, impoverishment, and death as a result of the cuts contained in the plan. And people are going to sleep earlier than they should. They're leaving us earlier than they should because of these global economic challenges. So 3.5 weeks ago, something comes across my desk. A company that's in pre-launch, now it's in soft launch, called THW Global. And when I first saw it, I almost dismissed it. You know, the website's not all that pretty, you know, and I started reading the information. And I'm just grateful that the person who sent me the information is someone that I respect, because I may have missed it. And what they talked about is that people could earn up to $25 an hour watching better than YouTube videos. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, okay? And then they said you could watch up to 10 hours a week and comment on commercials, TV pilot programs, movie trailers, video surveys, and so much more. 90% could be done from a smartphone. So you could be virtually anywhere in the world that you could have access to the internet, and you're simply watching TV commercials. I'm sorry, not TV commercials. You're watching commercials, all right? Let's call it promotional content. TV pilot programs, movie trailers, some video surveys, maybe giving some comments on what you like, what you didn't like, and that this company would pay you up to $25 per hour. Now, real quickly, what does the up to $25 an hour mean? Well, obviously, an advertiser advertising to someone in the U.S. will probably pay more for advertising than an advertiser advertising to someone in Malaysia. And this is not to say that someone in the U.S. is better than someone in Malaysia. No, that's certainly not to say that. It's to say that because the average wage in the U.S. would be higher than the average wage of someone in Malaysia, then the advertiser is going to be charged more to put their promotional content in front of the eyeballs of someone from the U.S. versus maybe someone in Malaysia. All right. Now, I'm going to use the $25 figure for our training, our presentation on this evening. Know that in some countries it won't be $25 an hour. It might be 10. It might be 15. In other countries, it might be 20. In the U.S., it might be 25, as an example. So we're going to use the $25 example. Okay, so when this comes across my desk a few weeks ago, and I started reading, and then I'm looking at the global economic condition. What if this isn't crap? What if it is gold? This would be a major solution, not just to people that are existing marketers trying to make money online. But I started thinking about my brother-in-law, who's not a marketer. He doesn't have an entrepreneurial bone in his body. I love him dearly. But man, he could watch some promotional content, and he could do a video survey and movie trailers and what have you, and comment on that. And maybe he earns up to $25 an hour, up to $250 a week, up to $1,000 a month. Man, an extra $1,000 a month for him would be huge. And I started thinking about my mom and my dad. My dad just had surgery. He's been out of the work for the last 3 weeks. I hate the fact my mom's retired in her 70s, about to turn 70. What is she going to turn? 74 or 75? No, 75 in just a couple of months. My dad's 74. I hate the fact my dad is still working. That bothers me. All right, could my mom, from the privacy of her own home, commit a few hours a week, 10 hours a week? Could my dad commit up to 10 hours a week? Could both of them commit 10 hours a week and potentially generate for their family an additional $2,000 a month? What would that mean? I know my mom and dad. I know what that would mean for them. All right. So then we started doing some digging. How? Here's the question. The naysayers, the cynics, the folks that's been burned so many times that it's hard for them to look through the lenses of anything that could be positive, okay? So the naysayers have said, how in the world are they going to afford to pay up to $25 an hour? Well, let's think this through. YouTube. So here's YouTube. We thought YouTube was all about going and watching some YouTube videos and something that was funny or catching up on maybe some news or what have you. And what YouTube is, it's an advertising platform, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you can put your videos up there and you can comment on videos and what have you. YouTube, make no mistake about it, is an advertising platform. THW Global is an advertising platform. Look at YouTube. YouTube on its own, it's owned by Google, by the way. Google paid $1.65 billion for YouTube back in 2006. Right now, YouTube is worth $70 billion on its own. If YouTube was its own company, it's owned by Google. If YouTube was its own company, the value of YouTube would be higher than all of but 66 companies in the Standard & Poor's 500. The Standard & Poor's 500, S&P 500, basically takes the 500 biggest companies. When you look at their outstanding stock times the stock price, what is it worth? And YouTube is worth $70 billion. Only 66 other companies are bigger than YouTube in the Standard & Poor's 500. Now let's look at the model that YouTube employed. YouTube allowed people to register for free. THW Global allows people to register for free. YouTube got all these users to come in and watch content. And then behind the scenes, they started working out advertising deals. You can advertise on YouTube. I can advertise on YouTube. But more, you see big businesses, more and more now, before you even start watching a video. There might be a video ad there. Maybe after 5 or 10 or 15 seconds, you can skip it, but there's that video ad there. Geico is advertising. Allstate is advertising. McDonald's is advertising. That, ladies and gentlemen, has caused them to be a juggernaut. We thought that Twitter was just about tweeting things or following movie stars or following athletes, or some people even started like Queen Twitter, who has over 1 million folks following her on Twitter, started leveraging Twitter as a way to do business. Well, Twitter, for years, Twitter just was growing this Twitter universe, this huge base of people for years. And then all of a sudden, Twitter started advertising. And what happened for Twitter? They go public. They start advertising, allowing people to buy ads to their Twitter followings or to send out to their Twitter followings. And now Twitter is another advertising juggernaut. Now I want you to get this. Please make a note of this. Twitter, for years before there was advertising, Twitter, for years before they went public, they were amassing a huge database. A huge database. We might be a couple months away before the viewing starts and we start making money. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, if it's gold, if it's crap, it's crap. All right. And we'll be the first ones, if we believe it's crap, we'll be the first ones to say it's crap, guys. It's crap. But we'll be the first ones to say it. Okay. If it's gold, my gosh, what that could mean for those of us that have just a little bit of vision. All right. So fourth quarter, they made $641 million from what? From advertising. 48% increase. Look at this. So you've got this global economic, sometimes you feel like it's a collapse. And here you've got a company that their advertising revenue is up almost 50% from the previous year. Now, here's the thing. Twitter doesn't pay you. They don't pay me. YouTube doesn't pay you. They don't pay me. THW Global is saying, I'm going to pay you. It's yet to be seen. Could be crap, but it could be gold. It could be gold. And now the big behemoth. See, we thought Facebook, we thought it was all about connecting with our friends and our loved ones and people I went to high school with and people I went to college with, and looking at their photos and celebrating those great events and maybe even connecting when, unfortunately someone loses a loved one and sending out sentiments and, hey, you're my thoughts and my prayers and what have you. We certainly saw how big Facebook was over the past week and a half with those events, and we won't make any commentary there because we know different people have different thoughts on that. But we saw, Facebook was in the news because of that. We thought Facebook was just about connecting with people. Mark Zuckerberg comes on after those events last week, and he talks about Facebook allows us to connect. Well, yeah, but you want to know what Facebook really is? It is an advertising platform, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it allows us to connect, but it's an advertising platform. What did people do? They joined for free. And then they made it very simple. You can import all of your contacts from Google, which was, you got your Gmail account for free, and incorporate all those folks and connect with all these folks. Why? So that the more people they had leveraging Facebook, the more they could start charging for advertising. And so here is this social network. They did 5.2 billion with a B. How does a company afford to pay $25 an hour? Really? $5.2 billion in a quarter, in a 3-month time frame. How much of that did you get? How much of that, Gail, did you get? So when THW Global says, hey, we're going to pay you to view promotional content, when there are these problems that people are facing, I would be less than a leader not to say, hey guys, it could be crap, but it just might be gold. And if it's gold, we want to be there. We want to be there, especially when there's no financial risk because nobody's paying anything. See, they're using the model. Facebook, what did it cost you to set up a Facebook account? Nothing. Google, what did it cost you? Nothing. And so we can continue on. We could talk about Google. We could talk about how much advertisers are willing to spend just to be positioned where you could click on their ad. An insurance ad on Google. You go in, you type in life insurance, health insurance, so on and so forth. Some advertiser might pay as much as almost $55 just for you to click on their ad. Loans could garner up to $44. Mortgage, that mortgage keyword could garner up to $47 just for you and I to click. Just to click. Doesn't mean that we've bought anything. Doesn't mean that we'll use that service or what have you. I'm going to go through a few slides so that we can, as I'm looking at my time, so that we can make sure that we do this in a timely fashion. Okay. Now, real quickly, how much does TV advertising really cost? This particular article, TV advertising, there's about $78 billion in the U.S. alone in TV advertising, TV commercials. And this talked about, what it could cost just to put together a commercial, $200 to $1,500 for a local 30-second commercial. But if you wanted to do a national campaign, McDonald's, Hardee's, Walmart, so on and so forth, it could be $342,000 just to put together a 30-second commercial spot. You haven't bought any time yet. But so what do companies pay for a 30-second, a minute commercial on things like American Idol just had its last season, this past season? Well, they were spending, companies were paying as much as $475,000 for a 30-second spot on American Idol. That's not even a Super Bowl. That's just for a 30-second spot on American Idol. And then some programs that maybe aren't as popular could run in excess of $100,000 for just a 30-second spot. And if you watch a 1-hour drama, probably 15 minutes of that 1-hour drama is what? Commercial. So look at how many 30-second spots, 1-minute spots, 30-second spots, 1-minute spots, 30-second spots, 1-minute spots. Look at how many hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars are being spent just in that 1-hour scandal show or that 1-hour whatever show it is that you like to watch. But now here's what's happening is advertisers, though they're spending billions upon billions of dollars in advertising, they're having a more difficult time getting in front of their audience. You see, you've got things like DVRs where you can record live TV. I'm a huge NFL football fan, and my Steelers are going all the way this year. Training camp is starting next month. We have preseason, and the month after that, the real season starts. And you know what I do is I record my live TV. I've got to have my NFL Sunday ticket. I'm going to record the live TV, and I'm not going to watch my game until about 45 minutes to an hour into it. Why? Because I don't want to watch the commercials. So I'll fast forward through the commercials. Well, Netflix, which is huge, all the cards, huge. All right, so Netflix and other on-demand services like it, this article says, killed the TV ad golden goose. And what they talk about is that while audiences are watching more television than ever, they're watching less of it live. So advertisers are having a more difficult time getting their content in front of a targeted audience. They're spending billions of dollars, but they're not getting the same oomph. They're not getting the same bang for their buck. So here's this company called THW Global. And when I first looked at it, I looked at the website, really wasn't impressed by the website because I was looking at it through the lens of, let's say, network marketing. I've been in that arena for over 20 plus years. And this, assuming their goal, transcends network marketing. Because now, all of a sudden, we're not just talking about people that are entrepreneurial that want to market. We're talking about people that just want to make an extra few $100s to maybe an extra $1,000 a month viewing content. My mom could make up to $1,000. My dad could make up to $1,000. Now, in that household, that could be up to $2,000 extra per month, even if they're not out marketing it. Now, I'm going to show you how we're going to scale that to potentially 6 or 7 figures in just a few moments. And then, so I had to look at it differently because when I went and I looked at Google, I said, well, you know what? There's nothing impressive about the Google. It's nice, plain and Jane. And then I looked at Facebook. I said, there's nothing impressive on the front end about Facebook or Twitter or what have you. What if? What if? Sure, I could look through the lenses of being cynical because I've been burned, you've been burned, we've all been burned. Or I could say, what if? What if these guys, Gayettes behind the system, are gold? All right, so now let's talk about how this would work. We're going to get into how we're going to be compensated, and then we're going to end the webinar on how we leverage, how we take 10 hours a week and potentially use that as a catalyst to build a 6 or 7 figure income. Here we go. All right, so what THW Global is doing is they will pay up to $25 an hour for a maximum of 10 hours a week, so that a person, Gerald, could earn up to $250 a week doing what? Viewing promotional content, commercials, movie trailers, participating in video surveys, and the like. So maybe there's a survey to say why you like this product or why you don't like this product, why you like this service, why you don't like this service. How valuable is that for an advertiser? Extremely valuable. Now what would happen is an advertiser would have a committed audience willing to view their content. Now, if, for instance, on my NFL Sunday ticket, if the NFL paid me up to $25 an hour to view those ads, then I would not DVR the game. I would watch the game with all of the ads. They're not doing that. THW Global is. Now, why would TH Global want to do that? Because if you want to get into the global advertising industry, you can't do what Facebook did. They've already done that. All right. You can't do what YouTube did. They've already done that. You're the new kid on the block. You've got to innovate. You've got to do something differently to cause a buzz. And that's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, assuming that they're gold. All right. So you could earn up to $10 an hour. Up to $25 an hour. You can view up to 10 hours a week of promotional content, which means you can earn up to $250 a week, thereabout. You can earn up to $1,000 a month. Actually, some months, obviously, you would earn a little bit more than that because some months will have 5 weeks, so on and so forth. Okay. So you don't have to be a marketer for that to happen. Now, I'm going to show you how we're going to use this, say, $1,000 a month, could be less, how we're going to use this $1,000 a month as a catalyst to grow a 6 to 7 figure business for those of you that want to grow a 6 to 7 figure business. Now, there's a second number here. So there's really 3 numbers we need to know now. We've just covered the $25 number. The second number is $5. This is huge. If you refer someone to THW Global, they view an hour's worth of content. Let's say they generate $25. You, the referrer, no matter what country you live in, if they earn the 25, no matter what country you live in, you would earn $5 an hour for them having viewed the promotional content. Now, I want to make sure you get that. You could live in Trinidad, and let's say you refer to someone that lives in the U.S., and that person in the U.S. earned $25 an hour, and they viewed an hour's worth of content. They made 25, you made 5. Okay, where did the $25 come from? Where did the $5 come from? We'll talk about this dollar. Where does this come from? It's coming from the advertisers. The advertisers are paying THW Global to get their content in front of targeted eyeballs. THW Global, unlike Facebook, unlike Twitter, unlike Google, they're saying we're going to pay our content viewers. We're going to attract a bunch of content viewers because we're willing to pay them. And now these content viewers are going to be incentivized to watch these promotional ads, commercials, or what have you. And you're going to see something. We're going to gather information, gather a little intel on what John likes, because what John likes is different than what Doris likes, and what Doris likes is different from what Gabrielle likes, so that we can now put content that Gabrielle likes in front of her, and she's more likely to want to buy the product, buy the service, or what have you, so that these advertisers not only get eyeballs to their offer, they get targeted eyeballs to their offer. So they, being THW Global, is going to reward you if you were to share the message and to help build out, because they need millions, tens of millions to achieve their goal. Their goal is to be 1% of the global advertising pie by 2020. To do that, ladies and gentlemen, by 2020, we're talking $8 billion a year in revenue. That would put THW Global in a very short period of time as one of the top companies in the overall network marketing world. And again, this would transcend network marketing. And ultimately, they could be, if they deliver, they could wind up being the biggest one of them all, because we're talking about an industry, global advertising, that's not going anywhere. Okay, it's not going anywhere. All right, so now imagine you refer Gabrielle. She does her viewing, and she views 10 hours that week. And you get $5, up to $5 for every hour she views. She views 10 hours, you make $50. If she viewed 40 hours for the month, 10 hours a month in week 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'd make up to $200 a month per referral. We're working on a sales funnel. We'll talk more about it in our training on this coming Thursday. And the purpose of that funnel is for when people hear the message, they want to be one of 100 positions that agree to viewing 10 hours a week. And so when you have that funnel and people hear that message, people are going to want to take one of your positions, meaning they're going to want to join you. And in joining you, they would have already made a commitment that they're going to view 10 hours a week. Could you imagine 100 people that view 10 hours a week? That's $5,000 a week, ladies and gentlemen, in potential income right there. You might be saying, but I'm not good at marketing or recruiting. Remember, even if you're not good at it, even if you've struggled at it, if you will follow what we'll teach, this could be a catalyst, ladies and gentlemen, to a 6 or 7 figure business. We'll get into that in just a few moments. All right, and then they pay a $1 override for anyone in what we call your 10-level organization. So here's how this works. So Frank Jr. refers Floyd. Floyd is personally enrolled by Frank. When Floyd, who's personally enrolled by Frank, when Floyd views, Floyd gets up to $25 an hour. Frank Jr. gets up to $5 an hour. But there are 9 other people above Frank. There's Ernesto. There's Earl. There's Diana. There's Derek. There's Dennis. There's Marlene. There's Alan. There's Angel. All of those folks get up to $1 per hour in your 10-level organization. Now, if you don't know much about network marketing, you don't know what 10 levels is, just keep following us. You'll figure all that out. But what that means is that you could have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, even into the hundreds of thousands of folks in time. Because we have to have, in time, tens of millions to pull this off. Now, we don't have to have tens of millions to get started. All right. Facebook didn't start off with tens of millions, but now they have 1.6 billion users. Give me just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Give me just a moment. Hey, I'm doing a webinar. I have to reach out to you. Hey, man. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that. That is my programmer. We have been sharing with a part of our audience about a mobile marketing system that we're launching to our audience, and that was my programmer just giving me a call because he's about to give me the thumbs up real soon. So we'll be able to connect the dots with THW and our mobile marketing system for those of you that want to leverage that. All right, so here we go. Real quickly. Let me show you something real quickly. Bear with me. Give me just a moment. I'm sorry, bear with me. I'm looking for my slide. There we go. Okay, so I want to give you an example, all right? This happened in just the first week that after THW Global had come across our desk. One of our teammates sent me their screenshot, and in the first week of promoting THW Global, now keep in mind at this point, no one has viewed anything yet. At this point, no one has made the first dime just yet, okay? But I want to give you the potential, what could happen. So this particular person, they personally enrolled 270 folks as what we call international viewers. And you can see the numbers on their various levels. They had almost 3,000 folks in the first week. Now, let's do some math here, okay? So you see 270 people on level 1, 800 on level 2, so on and so forth. Let's do some math here, almost 3,000 folks. If we were viewing now, and not everybody's going to view 10 hours, our message is to view 10 hours so that our average viewership is higher than people that aren't following us, all right? So for every person that views 10 hours, that means that 9 people that didn't view, when you do the averages, then everybody averaged 1 hour's worth of content being viewed. Why is that important? Because let's say this is 3,000 now. If everybody just averaged 1 hour per week, this person would be making $3,000 a week, $12,000 a month, just from people viewing on average an hour. Well, what if they viewed 2 hours? Now all of a sudden this person would be making $6,000 a week, $24,000, $25,000 a month. This came from 1 week's worth of promotion. Now, here's the reality. This person has an email list. They have a following. So we want to assist you in building your own following so that you ultimately have these type numbers and even more. Here was another person here. Now, let's see. Yeah, here was another person. Now, this was very interesting because this organization is part of an organization of a retiree. And this particular retiree isn't a great marketer. You can see they only referred one person, and the person they referred only referred one person. So they referred this person here. This person here referred this person, but this person here started to build their business. And so in, I don't know how long time, this might have been a couple weeks worth of activity, there was 4,200 people in the organization, meaning this retiree here all of a sudden had 4,200 folks in the organization. If they all just average viewing 1 hour a week, this retiree now is making $4,200 a week. If they all viewed an average of 2 hours a week, somebody viewed 10, somebody viewed none, somebody viewed 7, somebody viewed 2, this person would be making $8,000 a week, over $30,000 a month. Well, in just a week's time, they went from 4,200 in their 10-level organization to 5,100 in their 10-level organization. So now if you did the same numbers, $1 an hour, 1 hour per person in that organization, up to $5,000 a week, up to $20,000 a month. If they did 2 hours, up to $10,000 a week. And ladies and gentlemen, this has happened while we were in pre-launch, transitioning to a soft launch. Nobody's even viewed anything yet. And you even have naysayers out there. By the way, let me tell you what naysayers do, okay? When you have an opportunity that has a lot of traction like THW Global, one of the things that people will do is they'll go on YouTube and they'll say, the sky is falling, scam, 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 scam. And you've got to be wary of what their objectives are, what's really behind the scenes, because very often they'll say stuff that may or may not be true, in many cases not true or not verifiable, and they say the sky is falling, and then they'll say, but if you want to have a real business, come and check out my site. Well, they're promoting something else. What they're doing is they're taking advantage of all of the traffic. So just be careful of all the cynics that you see out there. All right, so now I've got just a few minutes here. I may go over about 10 minutes or so on my time. Forgive me if that happens. So what I've just, oh, by the way, just to get rid of any additional skepticism, let's show you what people have been able to do in the advertising arena. Mark Zuckerberg, co-founder of Facebook, he founded it on a college campus in 2004. Initially, it was just a way for he and some friends to communicate across college campuses. I don't know if at that time he had the vision of it being an advertising power or giant or not. But as that membership base grew, there was the opportunity, hey, let's monetize that. Here's this young guy, the guy's still in his 30s. Here's this young guy who's now worth $48.7 billion because, say it with me, of advertising. Now, why is he worth so much? Because he's not paying you and me. He's not paying you and me. So what he did was he built this platform, 1.6 billion people, and now when you go into Facebook on your right-hand side, what do you see? Ads. When you go through your news feed, you see one of your friends and they're talking about how they had a baby or a grandbaby, or hey, pray for my mom or my dad because they're in the hospital or what have you. And right beneath that, there's a sponsored ad where somebody's promoting something, someone's trying to sell something, someone trying to drive you to a webinar, and they're paying to get that information in your news feed. Here's number 11 on Forbes. I think it's 400. Okay, $34.1 billion. Who's this guy? Co-founder, director of special projects for who? Google. What's the model? Free. Your Gmail account is free. Go and Google something for free. But he's worth $34.1 billion because of advertising. So when someone says to me, well, how in the world are they going to pay up to $25 an hour? Really? This dude is worth $34.1 billion. This dude is worth $48.7 billion. And here's another dude, Jeff Bezos. He's Amazon. Who would have thought back in 1995 when Amazon launched, just having some stuff about, some books. It was just a book thing, right? No, it's not just a book thing. They're now behind Alibaba, the number one internet-based shopping site in the world. They kick Walmart's butt in terms of e-commerce. And he is worth $61.6 billion. And I promise you, back in 1995, when Amazon was just launching, he had his fair share of naysayers. It ain't going to work, Jeff. You're crazy, Jeff. It's a scam, Jeff. You got scammed, man. Who? He's worth $61.6 billion. Now, let's grow this to a 6 or 7 figure business. Here we go. Okay? I'm going to want you to take our 10-hour pledge. Our 10-hour pledge says that you're going to covenant to maximizing your viewing income. Some of you are going to earn up to $25 an hour because of where you live. Some of you are not going to earn $25 an hour. Whatever it is that you earn, I want you to maximize your viewing income by committing to 10 hours a week. You don't let the week go out. I'm making the same covenant. I'm making the same commitment as you are. I'm not going to let the week go out without me viewing my 10 hours a week. By the way, if you have any children in your household that are 18 or over, get them registered. My 18-year young son, he's registered. My 20-year young son, he's registered. My wife, she's registered. I'm registered. Think about what that means for the college student, or for the or for that person just graduated high school and maybe they don't have the resources to go to college. Get them viewing the content and committing to 10 hours a week. All right, that's step number 1 in the pledge. Step number 2 is we're going to covenant to take 50 to 100%, minimum 50, as much as 100% of the viewing income. So if you made $1,000, if you made $1,000 for the month in your viewing income, you're going to take at least 500, maybe as much as 1,000. And you're going to put that in the form of marketing. You want to know why most people struggle with marketing? Because they don't have the proper tools. They don't have the resources. They're trying to do it on the cheap. Either they don't have the budget to have a paid traffic campaign or to get the tools and the resources. Ladies and gentlemen, we will provide the content. We will provide the 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year presentation material for our intimate audience. Well, all you got to do is drive traffic and let us do what we do, and we do it well. We've done it well for years. Develop 5, 7-figure businesses. This is what we do. This is what we love. Let us do what we do. You just drive some traffic, but I need you to have a marketing budget so that doesn't necessarily come off your table. It's not food off your table. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, we're so passionate about the potential, maybe perhaps, if it happens to be gold, THW Global, because this now gives our folks a way to derive a marketing budget without them having to go into debt, without them having to take food off the children's table. So we're going to share with you certain tools and resources that we use in our business that you can begin ultimately using in your business. And one of the reasons that people struggle is they just don't get enough eyeballs to their offer. Think about this. We're going to be viewing content. We're going to be viewing advertised content. An advertiser is paying to get their information in front of a target audience. What is that called, ladies and gentlemen? It's called a clue. It's called a clue. If you want to get people to your site, don't just depend on what they call free advertising. You can't depend on that. You don't know if somebody's going to come across your YouTube video. You don't know if someone's going to read your blog. You don't know if someone's going to see your tweet. But if you paid to get 1,000 visitors to your site, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 visitors to your site, now it just becomes a numbers game, because a percentage of those folks that go to your site are going to opt in with an email address or with an SMS text number to get more information. And a percentage of those that opt in are going to ultimately do business with you. So here's how this works, okay? Okay. On average, if you were doing an email campaign, all right, so let's say that you're having people, for those of you who follow us intimately, we'll talk more about this on this coming Thursday. For those of you who follow us intimately, we'll have a number of different what we call funnels. It's basically sales presentations. I gave you a little taste of that earlier. I talked about the retirees. Well, we'll have a funnel that's specifically designed for retirees. And we're talking to that person that is concerned about their retirement. And we'll have a funnel that's specifically designed for our college student. We're talking specifically to that college student because that's going to resonate with them. You want to know how you make money in this industry is you don't just sell the bling bling. You identify the problem, you pour salt on the problem, and then you give the solution. People will do more. People will do more to alleviate the pain and the frustration that the problem is giving them than they will to pursue pleasure. That's why you notice we didn't do the bling bling thing. What did we do? We isolated problems. We talked about problems. We poured salt on the problem. So here's how a typical campaign normally goes. You do a campaign. Let's say you get 1,000 visitors to your site. About 25%, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, will actually opt in with an email address so they can view the remainder of the content. So you give them some good stuff on the front end. Don't worry about that. We'll have the good stuff for you to give away on the front end. They opt in. This now becomes your system where you're getting that lead. And normally about 25% will opt in from an email standpoint. All right. So if you had 1,000 folks that opted in, 1,000 folks that saw your site and 25% opted in, you got about 250 new leads. And typically what happens is 1 to 5% of those will actually take you up on your offer. If you are selling something, 1 to 5% will buy. Well, when you have a free offer, that percentage goes up, meaning it might be more than 5%. All right, but it should certainly be on the higher end of the 1 to 5%, not 1 or 2. So let's say 4%. So let's say all of a sudden you do a campaign because you have the marketing budget. You get 1,000 visitors to your site, 250 give you their email address. Now you've got this list, and we'll show you how to work with that list and how to communicate with that list so those folks want to open up your emails and hear your content. And you don't even have to develop the content. That's what we do. You can leverage the content that we're developing for you. And so now what happens is, let's say that 4% of those actually take you up on the offer. They not only join you in THW Global, but they join you and they commit to viewing 10 hours and even commit to following our 10-hour pledge. Now all of a sudden you've got 10 people, 250 opted in, 4% converted. You've got 10 people that you didn't know that have joined you now in THW Global, and they've committed to watch 10 hours, and they've committed to do the same thing that you are doing. That's what one of our first sales funnel that we'll have, our first sales presentation, is to get people making those commitments, And now all of a sudden they go and they simply duplicate what you've done. We'll share with you our traffic, where we go and get traffic and different traffic strategies and what have you for our intimate following. We'll share all that with you so that ultimately you start building your list. And not only are you now starting to build a list, you're starting to get people joining you. And not only are you getting people joining you, you're getting people joining you with the same culture of, I'm going to view 10 hours and I'm going to take a portion of my viewing income and I'm going to recap that back into marketing. I'm going to build a list. I'm going to communicate with that list effectively. Even if I don't know what to say, that's all right. This funnel doc dude's got my back on that one. And we're going to build a team of thousands, tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of folks that are viewing. Will everybody view 10 hours? Will everybody honor their pledge? Some people aren't honorable, so some won't. But if we get enough people honoring the 10 hour pledge, 10 hours a week, then that will offset those that join but only watch an hour or 30 minutes or 2 hours or what have you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how we begin to scale a 6, perhaps even a 7-figure business. Now, we're going to take about 15 minutes to get into optional Q&A. I want to say this first and foremost before we get into optional Q&A. Okay, so if you're here for the first time, if you have not already registered, you want to get back to the person that got you to this webinar, and you want to get registered with them, number one. Number two, once you register, it's a very simple process, takes all of a minute. You'll be able to log in immediately. And I want you to log in with your username and your password that you selected. And when you log in, there's going to be where it says Survey Center. Let me bring this up real quickly so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then we'll get into an optional Q&A. Bear with me. Okay, so once you register and you log in, come here to where it says Survey Center, and then where it says Demographic Survey. This is going to take you about 5 minutes to complete this survey. So take the survey. The survey is basically going to ask you what your level, what your interest is, and are you interested in camping, bird watching, pottery, sports, what have you. Don't be too restrictive there, all right? Be thinking about your entire household. So maybe maybe you're not interested in sports, but your husband is, or your wife is, or your significant other is, all right? Then go on and click that, because then you're going to be able to view content that may be of your interest or an interest of a loved one. That is concerned, is interested in sports, and maybe that becomes something you buy for a holiday gift or for a birthday gift or what have you. The other thing I want you to do is everyone that is 18 years or older, I hate saying old, but 18 years or older in your household, whether they're college students or they just live in your house, make sure they register, make sure they fill out the demographic survey. Now, the way that would work is, let's say it's husband, wife, 2 children, like in my case. Husband, I'm the husband, of course, my wife. We've got 2 sons that are 18 or older, okay? So I register with my referrer. Let's say I register my wife and register my sons. My building building out the network, I'm going to do, you want to do with that primary position so that your referrer and their referrer and their referrer get the maximum from your having been referred. Because then you want that culture to go through your organization so that everybody gets the maximum that should be coming to them. Just think about that. If you are a family of 4, like I'm a family of 4, all right? Just from the viewing income, that could be an additional $4,000 a month to our household. Think how powerful that is. Think how powerful. My wife has been on the mend. She's had some health challenges. But while she's got surgery coming up real soon. But you know what she could do? She could view. She could view. That's powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely powerful. So get back to the person that referred you. Register with him, number 1. Number 2, log in. Do your demographic survey. Number 3, go to where it says Message Center. So let's put this up on the whiteboard. Register with your referrer, and this should be you and everyone in your household that is 18 or above. Number 2, you're going to then log in and take your demographic survey. So when the surveys were available, I had my sons take their demographic survey. I had my wife take her demographic survey. Made sure my dad took his demographic survey. Make sure my mom took her demographic survey. My brother, demographic survey. My sister, demographic survey. All right, so log in and do your demographic survey. After you've done that, then go to where it says Message Center. I'm going to show you this in just a moment. And there you're going to have a welcome message from THW. And that welcome message is going to include your referral links. This is the link that you can now get out to your friends, your loved ones, your Facebook following, your Twitter following, so on and so forth. Okay, so you're going to go right up here to where it says Message Center. I've got to comb through quite a few messages here. And this is what you're looking for. Welcome to THW. You click over here. Yours will initially say unread. You click there and you're going to have 3 links. They all do the same thing. It doesn't matter which one you want to use that you can get out to register your friends, your family, your those of you that have a list, sending that out to your list, so on and so forth. And then let me give you one last thing, and you've probably already done this. The fact that you're here, you probably already did this, and that is make sure you're registered for our webinar series, THW Global Webinar. Make sure that all of your folks are registered for our webinar series so we can resell the dream to them, all right? Because some of them, they registered, they don't really know what they registered for. They don't really know how big this could be if it is gold. And then on Thursday nights, what we do is we do training. That's designed to help you to start to understand how you build out a 6 or 7 figure business. It doesn't happen on accident. It happens fully on purpose. And so we want to help you understand the principles of how you build your business and give you some solutions to those of you that have been challenged and you've not been able to build out a network or what have you. Start giving you some solutions that you can apply into your business. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. We're going to go into optional Q&A. Queen, let's give it 15 minutes here. And if you hadn't put questions in, this would be the time to do so. I'm ready when you are, Queen.